The impact of the coronavirus on daily life cannot be understated. There are still significant restrictions both globally and locally to how we socialize and work. One of the industries impacted considerably worse than most has been the travel industry. One of Europe's biggest airlines, EasyJet, has recorded its first annual loss in the airline's 25-year history of $1.68 billion. Fleets of planes have been grounded and journeys cancelled, with those that go ahead filled far below capacity. Deadly viruses and traveling aren't compatible, and as governments have instructed employees to work from home and closed off borders to travelers unwilling to quarantine, we have become aware of and used to a new way of life. In this video, we're going to look at how the travel industry has changed and how shutdowns might be causing a future shortage of qualified workers. But before we begin, don't forget to like and subscribe to support the channel. Before the global pandemic, business meetings would generally happen in person, whether that required a walk downtown or an international flight. However, businesses are now far more used to working from home, using platforms like Zoom or Microsoft Teams. Questions are now being raised, asking if this is how businesses will look and operate moving forward. Sam Bentley is an advocate for sustainable travel and one of Forbes 30 Under 30, using his Instagram following to promote ways of traveling less intrusively. He believes the days of traveling to New York for a meeting are behind us. There's so much skepticism around traveling on airplanes, whether it's safe, whether we'll have to quarantine on arrival, or once we're back, and there's still risk of getting stranded. Even with flying having lost its attractiveness, the influencer does feel that the travel industry will bounce back. Although the industry will look somewhat different post-pandemic, I think the industry will feel far more sustainable as it grows again. With the metrics of long-haul business travel having diminished, Bentley thinks that we're going to see an increase in localized travel, where they're no longer going to see thousands of feet up in the air, but rather traveling on ground. When physical meetings are needed, trains will be the most popular, says Bentley, with Europe pioneering new rail technology. I'm really excited about how new electric technology in both cars and trains. The achievements are helping to save travel time and reduce emissions. The Forbes 30 Under 30 winner believes this change to the industry will extend to the leisure sector too. What they say about California, you can go skiing and surfing on the same day. Not every state is the same, but there's a lot to be said about the abundance of beauty on our natural doorstep. With Thanksgiving and Christmas on the way, the seasoned traveler suggests escapes in nature with small groups of households, or as the most COVID-secure way of traveling. Traveling by car, staying in lodge or cabins to avoid interacting with many people. For Bentley, a recent visit to Yosemite National Park pioneered an eye-opening experience, standing in awe of the Earth's beauty. Improving sustainability is at the top of the agenda for many leaders. Recently, New York's Union Square unveiled a climate clock, counting down the time until we reach a climate doomsday. With traveling making up a large part of people's carbon footprint, Bentley has outlined some ways to improve our sustainability when traveling. Spending locally rather than in international chains is really important because it invests money into the local economy. This brings more opportunity into the area, which helps to grow the economy and create more jobs. We should also think about what we leave behind when coming home. It is unlikely that we have seen the end of business travel. After COVID-19, there still will be a need and desire for travel. However, the increasing focus placed on improving sustainability, it is likely that both the method of travel and destination will see changes post-pandemic. The COVID pandemic has also hurt pilots and is possibly causing a shortage in trained pilots and staff for airlines. Over the next 6 years, 42% of pilots at Alaskan Airlines, United American, Delta, and Southwest face mandatory retirement. The same carrier's maintenance professionals have an average age in the high 50s. Regardless of how long the economic recovery takes, these demographics portend an unprecedented number of pilots and mechanics leaving the workforce in the next few years. And when traffic returns, which could be within the next 3 years, according to the leading financial magazine and Wall Street airline analysts, these retirements will leave the industry short of trained professionals. Second, as the industry faces a shortage in trained professionals, it will also face the double whammy problem of a shortage in training capacity. Flight schools are suffering for many reasons. Many flight schools in the United States are small mom-and-pop operations, with neither the financial wherewithal nor the business experience to evolve and survive, particularly in the current economic environment. Most flight schools do not have the ability to offer tuition financing for U.S. students, while some list major banks on their website as a possible source for student loans. Traditional banks, however, average an 8% approval rate on these loans. Indeed, one large U.S. bank has recently ceased all flight training loans. As about 80% of the world's primary flight training occurs in the United States, many flight schools rely on a large population of foreign students. However, the pandemic has caused American ambassadors across the globe to close for visa interviews. No interviewees means no foreign aviation students. Even if U.S. ambassadors process visas starting in June or July, there will be a massive backlog, which, coupled with social distancing rules, may result in significant lead time just for potential students to get an initial visa appointment. Flight schools largely dependent on these foreign students are unlikely to see such students until September at the earliest. This will greatly strain the financial capacity of many schools and many flight schools, large and small. These schools cannot survive without a steady influx of foreign students. Without a reliable source of tuition financing, many will close shop and disappear. Many smaller flight schools engage their flight instructors as independent contractors and not payroll employees. Thus, they appear to not qualify for a significant portion of recent payroll protection plan grants and loans. Flight instructors are generally the largest labor expense for a school. Without access to this program, these schools are further strained. It is still unclear if the travel industry will fully bounce back soon. And because of this, we might start to see a shortage of qualified workers for airlines. And with that being said, as always, thanks for watching and like and subscribe to see more videos.